Thank you very much. RNA interference is a common laboratory workhorse technique. In fact, it's a biological process to downregulate or knock down any genes, followed by inhibition of protein synthesis of faulty or the pathogenic proteins. And rheumatoid arthritis is characterized by synovial inflammation, hyperplasia, which is swelling of joints, production of autoantibodies, for example, rheumatoid factors, and anti-CCP antibodies, bone and cartilage destruction. The pathogenesis of arthritis is complex. There are a number of controversies regarding the initiation of this disease. For example, studies have shown that this disease initiates in the gut due to dysbiosis. Other studies have shown it originates in the lungs. And there are some studies that have shown that it originates in the temporomandibular joints due to locking of jaws and grinding of bones. Studies have also shown that mosquito-transmitted viruses, such as Ross River virus, Nong Nong virus, Chikungunya virus, they leads to transient arthritis. In fact, we have shown that mice injected with Ross River virus do develop transient arthritis. So far, there is a direct link between severe periodontal diseases and severe knee joint pain. In fact, now it has been shown that a particular bacteria known as P. gingivalis found in the saliva and also in the gingivicular fluid leads to the production of an enzyme called PAD4 that leads to the conversion or citrullination of arginine into citrulline. And citrulline is an autoantigen, and due to break intolerance, there is development of anti-CCP antibodies. In fact, anti-CCP antibodies are being used as one of the biomarkers to diagnose this particular disease. Our hypothesis is different. Our hypothesis is that two different organs, liver and adipose tissue, generate two different enzymes or the proteases known as MAS1-3 and the profactor D. And these proteases, they are generated by two different pathways of the complement system known as lectin pathway and the alternative pathway. So these two organs act in a concert to precipitate the disease in the knee joint. For this particular model, the presence of immune complexes is necessary, and these could be due to multiple infections or could be due to multiple injuries. And in fact, we have provided the proof of principle that mice lacking MAS1-3, which is predominantly generated by the liver, and mice lacking factor D, which is predominantly generated by adipose tissue or the fat, are completely resistant to collagen antibody-induced arthritis. And there are also some risk factors starting from smoking to genetic or environment, you name it. So our model is based on the complement system. How the complement system get activated? Complement system get activated by three different pathways: the classical, lectin, and the alternative pathway. And all of these pathways, they get activated by different molecules. For example, classical pathway get activated by IgG, IgM, or immune complexes. And lectin pathway get activated by binding of 5 different soluble pattern recognition receptors known as MBL, ficolins, or collectin to the carbohydrates present on the surface of microorganisms, followed by induction of certain proteases. These are known MAS. There are 5 different MAS of lectin pathway, and these are mannose-associated serine proteases. And these are the most important effector enzyme of the lectin pathway. And then they activate the lectin pathway. Alternative studies have shown that mice lacking MAS2, they have no lectin pathway of the complement system, and we have seen mice lacking MAS1-3, they have defective alternative pathway of the complement system. Alternative pathway is different, does not require any molecule for its activation. In fact, it is activated all the time due to spontaneous activation. And the components of the lectin pathway are profactor D, factor D, and factor B. And no matter how these pathways get activated, all of these pathways converge to form an enzyme called C3 convertase, which in turn cleaves C3 into C3A and B, and thus further form the MAC, which is the most important effector molecule of the complex of the complement system. And so the major focus of my presentation is on MAS1 and 3 and factor D. So MAS1 is a single gene that generates 3 different mRNAs, MAS1, MAS3, and MAP44 due to alternative splicing. And I'm not going to talk about MAP44. We have already published it. The major difference between MAS1 and MAS3 is in their serine protease domain. So MAS1-3, which is predominantly generated by the liver, and profactor D, which is predominantly generated by the adipose tissue, MAS1-3 cleave profactor D at this leader sequence, remove 5 amino acids, and convert into active factor D, which is required for the activation of the alternative pathway of complement. And similarly, in human, these sequences, they exist. So there are similarities between mouse and man. This slide shows the phenotypic characteristic or the morphological characteristics. Individuals lacking MAS1-3, they do have craniofacial defects and also clip left, and develops a syndrome known as 3MC syndrome. This is Malpus, Megarly, and Carnival syndrome. Interestingly, in mice lacking MAS1-3, we have also seen very clear craniofacial defects. So in order to find out the role of the complement system in arthritis, we used a mouse model of arthritis known as collagen antibody-induced arthritis. In this particular model, we inject a mixture of anti-collagen antibodies followed by an injection of LPS at day 3 to cycle the development of disease. All mice in these studies, regardless, they were sacrificed at day 10. This slide shows how the mice look like, their paws look like before the induction of disease and after the induction of disease, just the flow of injection. This slide shows the actual pictures regarding the clinical disease score activity in these mice. For example, in 4 paws, there is no disease. 4 paws look normal. On the other hand, at the end of the disease, when the clinical disease score activity you can see clear red swelling and deformation of paws. Similarly, in hind paws, no disease, 1 level disease, and then you can see level 3 disease in these C57BL6 wild type mice. So in order to find out the role of complement system in arthritis, we used mice having only classical pathway, only lectin pathway, only alternate pathway of the complement. This means these were triple knockout mice. And on x-axis, it shows days after the antibody injection, and on y-axis, show the clinical disease score activity from 0 to 12. And it's clear from these data that mice having only classical pathway and having only lectin pathway, they were completely resistant to collagen antibody-induced arthritis. On the other hand, mice having only alternative pathway of the complement, they developed severe disease. So from these data, we concluded that alternative pathway of the complement is sufficient and necessary for the development of arthritis in mice. And the bottom 3-line graph show the prevalence of disease in these mice, which was consistent with the clinical disease score activity in these mice. Then we asked the question, how the alternative pathway of the complement get activated. It took us almost 6 years to find out the answer for this question. Interestingly, 2 enzymes of the lectin pathway, they were regulating the alternative pathway of the complement through the cleavage of profactor D into mature factor D. So in these studies, we use MAS1 and 3 knockout mice, which is predominantly generated by the liver. And we found that these mice were completely resistant to collagen antibody-induced arthritis. Then we also used mice, factor D knockout mice, because factor D is an active form of profactor D. Profactor D is cleaved by MAS1-3. Again, we found that these mice were completely resistant to arthritis. So from these data, we concluded that MAS1-3 might be regulating factor D or the alternative pathway in the circulation of these mice. Technically, there is no difference between MAS1 and factor D knockout mice. MAS1-3 knockout mice have immature or zymogen form of factor D, which we call it profactor D, uncleaved form. On the other hand, factor D knockout mice have no factor D in the circulation. So these data are consistent. And then we ask the question, what are the differences between or similarities between mouse and man lacking MAS1-3? Can a therapeutic SIR and duplex to treat arthritis be developed? We compared the serum from mouse and man by using Western blot analysis. In this case, we pulled down the factor D or the profactor D and used an antibody that specifically binds to both profactor D and factor D. As I mentioned, there is only 5 amino acid difference between profactor D and factor D. So in this case, we use serum in lane number 1 from factor D knockout mice. No factor D is present, showing the specificity of the Western blot and the antibodies. On the other hand, mice lacking MAS1-3, only profactor D is present. This band is always a little bit larger than the mature factor D band. On the other hand, sera from mice lacking MAS2 or the wild-type mice, they have mature factor D. So we also compared the sera from humans lacking MAS1-3. As you can see, again, profactor D was present in the circulation of humans lacking MAS1-3 as compared to human lacking MAS2 in the circulation. So there are similarities between mouse and man lacking MAS1-3. Since the major focus of our studies is to develop a therapeutic to treat the arthritis or for therapeutic purpose, to this end we injected C57 BL6 wild-type mice with duplexers or the mixture of a cocktail of siRNAs for MAS1-3. These were commercially available, and also for factor D and the scrambled siRNA. In this case, we injected mice intraperitoneally. So 3 injections were given, 1 injection at -day 5, second at day 0, third at day 3 prior to the induction of disease. We found that mice injected with MAS1-3 or the factor D, there was 70% reduction in the clinical disease score activity in these mice. Interestingly, these results were almost similar to the MAS1-3 and factor D knockout mice data. And we also injected the same duplexes in the right knee joint. All mice were injected 3 times in the right knee joint, followed by induction of disease. We found that mice injected with MAS1-3 or the factor D, they were protected 39% and 60%. So interestingly, the decrease in the clinical disease score activity was not only in the right knee joint, where we gave all the 3 injections, but also in the left knee joint, indicating there was a contralateral effect. So from these data, we concluded that mice injected locally in the knee joint, they do have systemic effect, or the mice injected systemically have a local effect. In order to provide the proof of principle that the decrease in the clinical disease score activity was actually due to the decrease in MAS1, MAS3, or factor D proteins, we examined the sera from these mice using Western blot analysis. So in these studies, we examined the sera before and after the induction of a disease, before and after the injection. And we found that mice injected with MAS1-3 duplexer, there was only 25% decrease in MAS1 protein. On the other hand, same mice injected with MAS1-3 duplexer, there was complete elimination of MAS3 band. So from these studies, we concluded that the decrease in the clinical disease score activity we have seen that might be due to the decrease in MAS3. In fact, now we know that MAS3 cleave profactor D into mature factor D. And then mice injected with the same MAS1-3 duplexers, there was also a decrease in factor D as expected. Similarly, mice injected with factor D siRNA, which we use as a control, there was a decrease in factor D levels in the circulation of these mice, indicating there was no off-target effect. So from conclusions from this part of the study, that MAS1-3 knockout mice, they are resistant to CAIA, and there are similarities between mouse and man regarding the presence of profactor D. And commercially, we have used commercially available siRNA for these studies. We don't know their sequences. And commercially available, highly serum stable siRNAs, they decrease Ca in mice. Since our goal is to develop a therapeutic, therefore, we try to develop a therapeutic of MAS1 siRNA duplexes for the treatment of arthritis. And we conjugated the MAS1 and 3 duplexes with GalNAc, and I'm going to talk about that. So to this end, we started collaborating with a company known as Alnylam. It's a Boston-based company. In this, they do work with siRNA. And this company has a proprietary technology to conjugate the siRNA with the GalNAc or the amino sugar. This is N-acetyl-galactosamine, and to deliver specifically to the hepatocyte, to the liver. And in fact, they have just published one article in the New England Journal of Medicine regarding the drug they are bringing to the market. Is in phase 3 clinical trials, inclisiran. And there's one more article coming in the same journal in April 2nd issue of the New England Journal of Medicine. So it's a very powerful technology. With this technology, one can reduce not only the expression of mRNA by 99.9%, but also the protein by 99.9% in the circulation. So we conjugated the duplexes of MAS1 and 3 with GalNAc. GalNAc, remember, is the amino sugar. So what happens, GalNAc acts as a ligand. This binds to the ACLO receptors, which are present on the surface of all hepatocytes. Here, our target is liver. So once this GalNAc conjugated siRNA bind to ACLO receptor, they get inside the cell through endocytosis and release the duplex to cleave the target mRNA, followed by inhibition of the protein synthesis. The beauty of this technique is that this particular receptor recycles back to the surface within 15 minutes. So we use this technology to conjugate the duplexes for MAS1 and MAS3. And so after extensive testing in vivo, we selected one duplex and then injected into mice. So in this case, each time point represents 3 mice. Mice were injected in vivo 100 microgram per kg and then 4.5 milligram per kg. And we found that there was a clear dose-dependent decrease in the expression of mRNA in these mice in the liver. Then we asked the company to send us these samples blindly, and they did. And here we examined the MAS1 protein, the circulation of these mice. We were surprised that there was more than 95% reduction in the level of MAS1 in the circulation of these mice. And then we also conjugated the duplexes for MAS3 with the GalNAc, and they were tested by using COS7 cell line and in a nanomolar concentration, and then we used the same duplex and injected in vivo. So in this case, we injected this particular duplex of MAS1-3 at minus day 10 milligram per kg, one more injection at minus day 5, then day 0. And normally we use this protocol to induce the disease later on. So in this study case, we injected these mice subcutaneously. So another part of beauty of this technique, we don't need IV or IP injection. You can inject subcutaneously. So we injected subcutaneously either with the control GalNAc luciferase siRNA or with the GalNAc MAS3 siRNA. And in the first experiment, and we did several experiments, these results were highly reproducible. And you can see in mice injected with GalNAc MAS3 siRNA, there was 64%, 54%. These are two different mice, and of the MAS3 in the circulation, and there was luciferase, there was no effect. This was done by ELISA blindly in Denmark. And also we used sera from MAS1-3 knockout mice to show the specificity of ELISA, and this MAS3 sera was spiked with recombinant mouse MAS3. Then our goal is to develop this as therapeutic, and then after doing several experiments in vivo, and then we induced the disease. We did the same experiment. Mice were injected 3 times, 10 milligram per kg subcutaneously. and followed by induction of disease. This is an acute injury model. It's very difficult to put a dent even in this disease. And we found that at day 10, there was 42% reduction in the clinical disease score activity in these mice as compared to the mice which were injected with luciferase siRNA or the duplexer. And interestingly, during first 2-3 days, there was a 72% reduction in the clinical disease score activity. Then, due to break intolerance, because system is continuously generating MAS1 and 3, there was a break intolerance in some mice, and we see at the end 42% reduction in the clinical disease score activity. And interestingly, there was not only decrease in the clinical disease score activity in these mice, but there was a 24-hour delay in the initiation of this disease. So these results were very good. And there was no change in weight, and so we assumed there was no cytotoxicity, and none of the mice had died in these studies. We then sacrificed these mice at day 20 and examined the liver from these mice, and again we found that there was 31% reduction in the MAS3 expression in these mice. There was no effect on MAS1. Remember, MAS1 leads to 3 different proteins due to alternative splicing. It's very difficult to keep a balance when one protein is good, the other is bad. So in this case, we got and now we are trying to refine this particular sequence to get better results up to 80 or 90% inhibition. This is after 20 days in vivo. So these are very interesting results. And so we think that we have identified a new therapeutic, clinically relevant target, MAS3. And my short-term goal is to develop this therapeutic and bring it in a clinical setting. And one day I would like to see this sitting on the shelves of King Super or Walmart pharmacy. And my long-term goal is to put this duplex in a pen, which I will call it siRNA pen. And also, that can be used by patient by themselves because it's a simply subcutaneous injection. You don't need IV or IP injection for this. So the conclusions, I don't want to repeat the conclusion, just I want to say that we have already started conjugating. In fact, we are conjugating human MAS3 with the GalNAc. We'll test in RA. And also, we'll test in other autoimmune diseases which are dependent on the alternative pathway of the complement, for example, myasthenia gravis, CHUS, and others. And we have already pursued this intellectual property rights, and the patent opinion has been conducted. And I would like to extend my very sincere thanks to Dr. Michael Hollers, our head of the department, who has provided me tremendous support to do this cutting-edge research, even during very difficult time of funding. And also to Dr. William Aaron, who's my previous mentor. He developed a drug known as Ankira. It's an FDA-approved drug being used in the clinic every day for the treatment of juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. I'm proud of that. And also to Dr. Gregory Stahl from Mass General Hospital. He has expertise in lectin pathway. Dr. Stephen Thiel from Denmark. He developed 10 tranquilizers at letting me use free of cost for MAS. And also Dr. Fujita from Japan, who has discovered the lectin pathway of the complement system. And also to Dr. Anna Brodowski from Enliner Pharmaceutical. She's providing me very accurate information to synthesize stable, highly effective, and MAS3 siRNA, which have very good pharmacokinetics as well as pharmacodynamics properties. Of course, to the NIH for the funding of this project for the last almost now 20 years, and we are funded through 2020. I am very grateful to that. I'm thankful to Dr. Devashpal for giving me the opportunity to present this work. Thank you very much. If you have any question, I will be happy to answer.
I actually have a question. So as a non-rheumatologist, does the MAST1-3 pathway have a role in non-articular rheumatoid arthritis in terms of fibrosis in the lung or pulmonary hypertension?
Yes, I talked to a couple of times to Asuka regarding these studies in the lungs, that I'm sure that if you use MAS1-3 knockout mice, they will be resistant to arthritis, because this is the chokehold of the alternative pathway of the complement sitting in the lectin pathway. So I am sure that if you inhibit these, you will be able to inhibit the alternative pathway if that is dependent on the alternative pathway of the complement system. Yes, please. Oh, yes, that's a very good question. Because the antibodies, you need to have a certain, sometimes the antibodies, they don't get into the cell. So that's one thing. On the other hand, gene expression, even if you have a low gene expression, you can inhibit it, right? And we try to develop also the anti-MAS 1 and 3 inhibitory antibodies. We are progressing those, You have to, on the other hand, antibodies sometimes they don't work. But that's what somebody said. It's better to shut the tap instead of cleaning the flooded floor or mopping again and again. So better to shut down at the mRNA level. It's better technology. Yes. 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 That's a very good question. That is my next step, If everything continues, that's, as I mentioned, that I want to have this duplex, good duplex, because there are 70 to 80% homology in the sequence, the duplex I have, because now I know the sequence of this particular duplex. So we can modify the chemistry a little bit more so that I can inhibit about 80 or 90% of this protein locally or systemically, transiently, right, to put a dent on this disease. But I don't know how much protein I have to inhibit in the circulation to decrease the disease. But that's a very good question. We are going to do that in the near future. Yes, please. Well, the liver, yes. So there was one slide I have shown that because liver specifically have Asia receptors present on their surface, and the GalNAc is the amino sugar which we bind to the siRNA that binds to the HCl receptors. And through that binding, through endocytosis, they get inside the cells and leave the siRNA inside the cell, and this receptor comes back again, recycles back on the surface within 15 minutes. So this is a very proven technology. The article I was showing, they have now developed an injection to lower the cholesterol, just one injection per month, and that article just came in New England Journal of Medicine using the same technology. So they reduce LDL in that case. Very powerful technology.
Okay, thank you for a great talk.